Regular meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Park Commissioners. It is Thursday, April 6, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom at Prospect Park, Wohlers Hall, 733 North Prospect Avenue, Park Ridge, Illinois. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mary Ann, if you could please call the roll.
Commissioner Bendy? Here. Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne?
Here.
Commissioner Grau? Here. Commissioner Hulting?
Here.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Here.
Commissioner LeDuc?
Here. Now, does anyone have anything to amend, add, or delete to the current agenda? Seeing none, does anyone have any public comment on non-agenda items? You may step up. And just so you know, it's our regular policy to limit the public comment to 3 minutes, and it's not really a back and forth. It's more a thank you for your information kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Great.
I don't know how to proceed here, but I guess my name's Matthew Felino, live at 222 South Merrill, and I would just like the board to take into account and consider for next year's enrollment of Beyond the Bell that registration be open to all residents of Park Ridge at the same time and no preferential treatment given to students already in the program, causing it very difficult for new students in the district to become part of that program. And that's all.
Oh, well, thank you for your comment. And while we are not going to have back and forth, I do believe our executive director has already started looking into that issue. Gail, if there's anything you'd like to share?
Few highlights. Thank you for coming, Matt. Our goal always is to get as many people, just so you know, into our programs as possible. It's a staffing and it's a space issue, right? So we're working on it constantly, and we're working on it right now. It's similar to our challenges with our camp registration as well. So when registration starts to when registration or when the program begins next fall, there'll be several shifts because what happens is families sign up and then they don't need every single day. And so then there'll be openings then. And then there's also, once we see the numbers, the staff sees the numbers, we go back to the school district because it's in the school district, so it's not our space. And so then we try to get more space from the school district based on what they have available. So it's a big kind of a circle thing. We're talking to the school district next week about, and so the board knows that as well, for additional space. We've also just, this is a practice and a procedure for these type of longer term programs that we've had in place, similar to, preschool. There's a pre-registration for the people that were in the program before. Common practice of park districts, staff checked, just for my knowledge, Skokie, Northbrook, Elmhurst, Hoffman Estates, Arlington Heights, and Geneva are a few examples of the communities that also do this. It does not mean when we get comments, we're not going to evaluate it. So we plan to do that for sure. So I just want you to know that we hear you, and we're continuing to look for solutions on this. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Gail, and please keep us apprised as things develop.
Yep.
And thank you. It's always nice to actually have a public comment. Oh, you want a public comment? Oh, 2 in 1
good.
night. This is exciting.
I'm going to share some information too, if I'm allowed.
Great. And please start by introducing yourself.
My name is Dr. Jeffrey Barczyk, and I serve on the Park Ridge Baseball Board, as well as I'm a father of 4 who enjoy our parks, play tennis, play baseball, play football in all of our parks. I am also a physician and a professor of medicine at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine, and I'm here to talk passionately about the use of automated external defibrillators that can save lives in our parks. And I know we have some defibrillators inside of our buildings, but we have none outside in any of our parks. The NIH, National Institute of Health, estimates that 550,000 people die yearly from cardiac arrests. 99% are fatal, And 1,500 of those that die yearly are under the age of 25. Okay, that affects my kids. John Taylor Babbitt was a 16-year-old locally who died while playing basketball. Jake West, 17 years old, while playing football. Zach Mago, 17 years old. Mark Mayfield, 17 years old. And Garrett Barron, my 18-year-old brother-in-law, died from a sudden death. Yet with an automated defibrillator that's easily available, lives are potentially saved. The NIH also estimates that 1,700 lives are saved yearly with these devices from things such as simple heart attacks for our older population in our parks, structural heart defects, congenital defects in kids, and certainly some of the things we're worried about in sports, like something called commotio cordis, where they get hit in the chest and their heart goes into a fatal rhythm. Mike Fowler from Evanston, William Kovach from Elmhurst, Jim Miller from Naperville, Mike Polkey from Mount Vernon, Steve Farber from Deerfield, and then some more famous people like Bob Harper from The Biggest Loser on TV. And you guys all saw recently on national TV DeMar Hamlin, who was defibrillated live on TV. His life was saved because of it. Other communities have AEDs in their parks, including Oak Park, Glen Ellen, Naperville, Northbrook, Glenview. Naperville has 10 outside and available in their parks. I can understand the board may be concerned about liability and vandalism that we have in a lot of our parks. There are answers to these problems. Good Samaritan laws protect citizens if they use these devices. Once the device is turned on, it explains to you in English exactly what to do with the machine and how to use it. They only require once a month daily maintenance. As long as the green light is on, it is working. And as for vandalism, there are defibrillator cabinets that can protect and secure the AEDs with things such as alarms to get rid of thieves or vandals or to stave them off. Numeric codes where you have to call a number to actually, someone on the other end in EMS says the number is 986. I'm almost done. You are timing it, actually.
Well, I want to be fair to everyone.
Yeah, I get it. Or just extra lighting, cameras, and having it connected to the police station. So this isn't about liability or vandalism. It's about saving lives and doing the right things. So I hope to see these in our parks, particularly Northwest, Hinckley, Centennial, and others as soon as we can get them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Oh my goodness. Hi, I'm Connie Michaels. I live at 1217 South Delphia. I'm also on the Park Ridge Baseball Board. I'm a volunteer baseball coach. And one of the things I would like to request is receptacles in the parks for dog waste. Dog walkers have their own bags, but they're putting them in the plastic garbage cans that don't get emptied very frequently, and they sit in the hot sun, and it's very nasty. And the garbage cans are always where the people are. They're right up next to the fields, they're close to the dugouts, they're close to home plate, and it's really nasty. So if we could have those aerated ones where people could just put the dog waste, that would be awesome. There are also some concerns from the baseball board about the lights at Hinckley Park. The new lights do a great job on the fields, but on the areas around the fields. So like the batting tunnels are not lit, the grassy areas where kids do their warm-ups. And then between Hinckley 3 and the Park District building, that's the area that there's the path that goes towards the volleyball and the tennis. Like that is not lit at all, and it's very dark. So those are things that I request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your 3 minutes, Jen.
I borrowed some of her time.
I actually do really appreciate it though, because we don't get a lot of public comment, and I definitely prefer people coming to the board meeting and telling us what's going on rather than occasionally seeing something pop up on Facebook where it's a lot less useful. So thank you very much to all of you. All right. So with that, Gail, if you would give us the executive director's report.
Yeah, so tonight is basically there's one issue under my under my report, and it is talk to the board about a request to accelerate a needs assessment and a master plan. I put all the details in the memo, but I thought I'd just review the highlights of why we're talking about this right now. We've talked about the fact that our last master plan was done in 2013, and the industry standards are every 8 to 10 years, so we're definitely due. Of course, this is something I would typically, and then the needs assessment comes up before that, and that's something we do every 5 to 7 years, which we're on target. We did one in 2018. It was mainly focused on Oakton. However, we did have general park questions in there. So we're right at that point where it's time to renew that process. It's a big process. As I was going to say, is we typically would put that in the budget because it's a large budget item. In my head, I was thinking we would do it in 2024, but then we decided to explore the distinguished agency process, which that is something that is mandatory that you have to have complete by the time the reviewers would come out, which would be so we have put in our application, and we've talked to the board about that for the distinguished agency. So that is in, and if they accept us and give us a mentor, that's an 18-month process, right? So a master plan typically takes about a year. Once you decide on the firm you're going to use. So we started looking at the dates, moving it back, and I said, well, let's talk to the board about it. We could do it under the appropriation line item for contractual services and get started within our current budget, and then budget for the remainder of it next year. So that's what I came to talk about. That's why it wasn't in the budget and why the need has accelerated to do that. What I'm recommending this starting at this year instead of in 2024. The other major benefit, and we talked about this, right? Why do we do these master plans? We want to take a global look at the parks, and we want to take a global look at the district. One of the things that wasn't in that we did not focus on the last one because we had such a need for it, looking at aquatics and facilities in the last master plan, was programming. So we also want to look at that and survey on that as well. We went back and looked at the number of grants, so when you have a master plan, that helps you. It's a big thing when you're going for the grants, right? For them to see your plan. So we have we've received over $5 million, $5,640,000 to be exact, in the last 9 years, which is quite remarkable. And we think that the success has been the master plan and, the needs assessment, which I know the board realizes this, but so what I'm looking for is either for you to let me, do we have consensus to start this process and spend money under the appropriated amount? I put the dollar amount. I've reached out to several of my peers about their recent costs for these, and they run the gamut. The last time we did it in 2013, it was $95,000, so I was expecting big numbers, and that was just for the master plan part of it, and the needs assessment was $20,000. So the numbers I'm seeing are from 150. Somebody spent 195,000, but they also added 2 additional surveys into that. So I'm thinking this number would be good, but I'm not sure. And I'd be coming back, of course, once we went through the RFP process to do this. So that's what I'm looking to discuss with the board this evening. Any questions or comments?
Does anyone want to start us off?
Actually, I don't
Go for it,
usually. I know. I
Commissioner
don't
Halting.
usually. I like to listen to everybody else first, but tonight I guess I'll. So I think this is a good idea, just like anecdotally, and I've mentioned this before in meetings. I feel like we have a lot of new people in town. We've had a lot of demographic turnover in town, and I think the timing is good. Gail, I was happy to hear you say that you want to look at programming too, because I feel like there's a need for that too. Just hearing from people around town to look at what we might need in programming. So I'm supportive of it. I just had one question. It says, you expect that the funds appropriated for contractual services, that's where you would pull from this year's budget. Like, what would go away? Because you're, like, what?
We would be
what
adding
you-
to the budget. We have 20% over 10%. That's close. 10% over on the line items. So we can go up to that amount over the budget. So
I just didn't know if that there was a big chunk of that contractual services that were already like you were eyeballing for something else.
no, we typically come, as you know, under budget and expenses. So
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. And I would be very, that's going to be one of the questions, obviously, that the people we interview is how much of this expense to get it done when we need to get it done would have to come out of this year, right? So I would analyze that and make sure we could do it within that
So
appropriated
it would
amount.
essentially be cost neutral for this year.
No,
Like
we
in
would be
terms of-
adding.
Like it's already in the budget. You're
No,
not-
it's not in the budget. That's why we're
Okay.
talking about it.
Okay, well that's why
Right.
I thought you mean to start looking into it. You could pull out of the contractual service, not to start.
Sandra's going to
Yeah,
clear this
explain to
up.
me because I'm
Right.
not getting it. Obviously.
Is it okay if?
Yes, of course, please. Yeah,
So
I'm clearly not.
When the board reviews the budget and appropriation ordinance each year, we look at, there's always two columns, that budgeted amount
Mm-hmm.
and the appropriated amount. And the appropriated amount is 10% over the budgeted amount. And that is the amount that we are legally able to spend without amending the budget. So looking at the contractual service line and what that excess is, we feel that that should be sufficient to begin the process, but it would be over what we had budgeted.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Commissioner Coyne?
Okay, great. So I don't love, going over the budget. It's kind of my thing since I've been here. But we're at the way I look at it is we're at the end of when the life of the last master plan,
Mhm.
and we're going to be in, by the time this gets done, it's going to be 6 years after the last time. So, and I'm imagining the cost is only going to go up if we decide to kick the can down the road to another year, that instead of it being in that 150 to 175 range, or it might be 250. Who knows? By the time if we decided not to go ahead with it now, so it seems to me like we're on the edge of where it would be. We have some leeway in the budget, so I think it would be probably a good idea to get started on it.
Thank you. And just to clarify, it'll be, so we're 10 years right now, right? So they recommend, 8 to 10, yeah.
I thought it said 5 to 7 someplace. And
That was to the, sorry, that it gets a little dicey. That's the survey. So the needs assessment's the survey. So we're right within that. And then we're right on the edge of the master plan. So it'll be about a year over, where we should be if we get it done by 2024.
that's fine.
The needs assessment is a input into the master plan.
Yes, it has to happen first, right?
Commissioner Bowe?
You saw me moving for the mic already. I think this is a good time to be doing that sort of thing. The Park District is on financially stable ground, and again, I want to thank Superintendent DeAngelis for continuing that tradition that the board has been enjoyed for all these years. So a shout out to you, Sandra. I think, a year ago, we were very concerned about the direction of where we'd be following COVID. And now we've seen that things are pretty stable. So this is the time to do that. And I think overall, we're going to learn about a lot of things that we can improve on. So it's a win-win.
Commissioner Bendy?
All right. Yeah, I'm on board. That's fine to go ahead. I would just ask, will you be interviewing a lot of firms? Because I know sometimes you don't have to, interview firms if you're familiar and you like their work.
Right.
So what's
You're
the
correct.
story on that?
We haven't quite, we're going to talk more about that
Okay.
after tonight, but the thought process, yes, you're correct. So you can work with, and Dirk will correct me if I say this wrong, but it's basically you can work with a firm that you've worked with and that you have an established relationship with, right?
Yes, I
So,
would, yeah.
we
I
can-
would just encourage you to look at many places
Right.
if you can, because the more you're going to hear a lot of ideas, and you're going to be amazed at one of them or two of them firms.
Right.
Yeah.
So as I was
Yeah.
going to say, we'll gather those names, and then I've already got a list going from my peers of who they've used in the past. So I feel like we've got a pretty solid, list that we can send to, and we'll advertise it. So
Good.
This is one of
Yeah.
those services where
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Right.
You can, you don't, it doesn't have to be somebody previous.
Okay.
You can get, it's a professional service, so it doesn't have to be bid.
Yeah.
This is really about what
fits.
Dale
Right.
is going to recommend is the best fit.
But I am encouraging, talking to a lot of them. Okay, good, great. Thank you.
Commissioner Grau?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Very concise. Commissioner Tuttle?
Yeah, I definitely support exploring this, and I think it's a good time to do it. Like Commissioner Bo said, it's time. I will echo Commissioner Coyne's sentiment. Like, I don't like to add stuff to the budget after the fact that we spent
Right.
hours upon hours going
I know.
through it. I would be a big advocate to try to explore grant opportunities as a result of this, because I think you guys have done an incredible job, and based
Pay back.
on the previous one, I would hope that we would continue to see that trend of, future grants. So I
Right.
do support it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to overstate I mean, yes, it's great for the grants, and it's a very big benefit, but the benefit also is to get the pulse of the community. And I would completely agree that we've had a big shift, in the community, a lot of new residents. COVID happened, so it's time for us to get a global look at this, I think. And yes, I typically would not bring this, but as we started looking at this distinguished agency and then looking at the years, and it just made sense. And it is our goal, of course, to cut something else if we can and not expend something to help with this. So we will certainly try to do that as well.
And I will say you guys have done a great job with that through the last few years. So,
Mhm.
like I said, I support this.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm not going to bother rehashing the comments of all my fellow commissioners because I can honestly say that I agree with all the comments we've heard, and I'm glad that there is wiggle room in the budget for this because I mean that's the whole point of having wiggle room. So I am also in favor of this. So we have a unanimous consensus. Yay!
Wonderful. We'll get started. Thank you. That's all I have this evening under my.
All right. So moving on to buildings and grounds with Commissioner Holting.
Can you just go ahead and read the motion first? Okay, thank you.
That's cool. So I move to approve D. Kersey Construction Company as the lowest responsible bidder for the Centennial Fitness Center indoor pool improvement project and the total amount of $540,616, which includes the base bid and alternates 2 and 3, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second? We talked about this before in a previous meeting, but is there any discussion on this? Or is there anything that Superintendent Wolf would like to add now?
I mean, it's all pretty well laid out in the memo and in our additional our discussion at the last meeting. So I guess I would just be happy to answer any questions that anybody has this time.
I forget the timeline. When are we looking at for this? The timeline.
We're actually hoping during our normal shutdown time frame, so it would be typically August, so before the outdoor pools close, is ideal. We don't have quite a handle on exactly how long it'll take, but we think it's a 2, maybe 3 week project. So ideally, we'll be working on this before the outdoor pools are closed. So anybody that's used to using the indoor pool there as part of the fitness center will have access to the outdoor pools the way we typically work that.
That's awesome. Thank
Yep.
you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Bendy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bo?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne?
Aye.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Holting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And now we will move on to the next topic, which is approval of the Centennial Fitness Center mechanical unit replacements. We also discussed this in a previous meeting. So I move to approve a joint purchasing agreement with the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, which will be fulfilled by Midwest Mechanical under contract number NCPA 02-91 in the amount of $230,158.
Excuse me, can I correct you? There's a new agenda on the,
Thank you.
I apologize for that.
Okay. I will start over. New motion. I move to approve a joint purchasing agreement with the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance and CPA, which will be fulfilled by Midwest Mechanical under contract number NCPA 02-91 in the amount of $235,073 for the replacement of several mechanical units at the Centennial Fitness Center, and to authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement. Can I have a second? Somebody already seconded? Yeah. Okay, didn't hear her. Any discussion or anything you'd like to share, Terry, on this one?
I'm actually going to take the apology or give the apology for the error there. I had a typo in my
It's
original
all right. I was
memo,
taking
so-
notes on the new agenda, so I didn't
I-
from all
I-
the public comment.
I just looked at the wrong line item when I was writing my memo, so it was a little bit confusing. So this is what we had talked about at the previous meeting. I did include, as we discussed, the additional amount for the high efficiency option on the one RTU unit that we thought was going to be make sense to do and give us good benefits. So otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you have on this.
Does
I
anybody
was
have-
just going to comment that between these two contracts, we've just gone under budget in reference to our previous conversation.
Right.
Although this current job is $73 over
though.
budget.
Master plans can be paid for out of the capital budget.
Yeah, we can, yeah, but we were preferring to, Sandra and I talked and thought it would, but yes, you're right, we could.
And just for
Thank
clarification.
you for pointing out that we've saved money.
I just wanted to point that out. The other thing I wanted to clarify, did you say you were buying an R2 unit?
It was an RT, R2,
I know, me
D2,
too.
no, RTU,
Okay.
rooftop unit, sorry.
Just wanted to check.
Those-
Thanks for pursuing the high efficiency option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no new, I'm sure I asked, no rebates for that or comments?
So
and
there
I-
are rebates. For that,
Okay,
yes.
cool. All right, we got to squeeze all that out of the old ComEd.
That's what we're doing.
All right. All right. Seeing no other comment, can we have a roll call, Marianne?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the Hinckley Park Improvement Project update. Terry, do you want to lay anything out for this one?
Yeah, so I did provide a memo to kind of just, summarize and frame, some of the conversations that have been going on related to this project as we're moving it forward. And obviously, we've been in touch with the affiliate groups that are the biggest users of this park. And we had kind of an outstanding discussion with baseball and just kind of started to talk through a couple different, aspects of specifically Hinckley Field 3. We've heard from the board, I think, as community members, you're aware, a lot of people are aware, I guess, that, there's has been some challenges with foul balls at Hinckley 3 and how close that is to Bussey Highway. And so just during the course of some of these conversations, we had actually explored the idea of moving the field a little bit, relocating it. There was some discussion from baseball about them funding and putting in turf, artificial turf infield. But ultimately, the price that came in for that, the price point was more than they were willing to expend. Part of the idea also with moving it was that maybe we could move it over as far as Hinckley Field 2 is, where we don't have any issues because it's set back farther from the road. Ultimately, the cost just to relocate the field and some of the infrastructure became not only tight on the field dimensions and how they played out in that park, but also just financially challenging. So through talking through it, we decided that it's best to add in and include some additional netting along Bussey Highway to improve that area and the safety, and to make sure that we're not getting these foul balls into Bussey or into the spectator area there. But it wasn't something that was, fully anticipated in the original project budget. And so that's a little bit of a change. In doing that, we also have some additional concrete work that we'll need to do around the field, just so that the poles, by the time we're tearing everything apart and destroying the existing asphalt there, it'll need a lot of work. And so the best way to really handle that is to go with concrete. We're also extending an additional path because one of the reasons we also wanted to move this field was because of the desire to have a walking path that went along Bussey Highway on that side as well. And while we are not moving the field to allow us for the full width path, we did identify that we can still fit like a 6-foot path that goes from the end of the existing pad and the end of the existing area where the bleachers are set for Hinckley 3 and get them over towards where the batting tunnels will be, as well as where the Hinckley Park restrooms are at. So, and then just also we've relocated where the batting tunnels were planned to be in our original design for this OSLAD grant after having conversations with the baseball users, and we're moving them to the middle of the park. It'll be basically where they have some existing now behind Hinckley 3, between 3 and 2, and we'll be doubling them up so that we'll have 4 tunnels at that location. So it's a little more centrally located. So, this does have an additional cost. One of the things that we are proposing or suggesting is that we utilize the $150,000 DECIO Rebuild Illinois grant that we were awarded by Senator Martwick or given by Senator Martwick. That was one that was identified for capital improvement needs, but wasn't specifically identified for any individual project. And so we do need to identify a project for it to go towards. We feel like the Hinckley project, or in general, earmarking this towards the playgrounds and picnic shelters would definitely be something that they would like to see that money went towards in enhancing this park overall. We have checked in with our grant administrator at DECIO that we can utilize these funds in conjunction with the OSLAD funds to go towards this overall project. So we just felt like it was a point in time that we should bring this to the board. We are looking to add to this project, but we're also identifying where we have additional funding sources that we think will offset those expenses as well. So,
Yeah, Terry covered it very well. Just to also, with the DECIO grants, there is delays sometimes in getting the money. They have been allocated, so we will, they've been awarded, so we will receive them. We're just not sure when. So there could be the chance that we're not getting them right away, but we'll be doing some shifting. As you see, we're saving money on some capital, and so when we get those funds, it'll be allocated toward that purpose.
That go over into the next fiscal year, or would you think it would be this fiscal?
When to receive the funds or to expend the money?
To receive.
Well, to expend the money, when is that project slated for construction?
It's slated for construction fall this year, finishing spring next year. So
if we get the funds in one of those years, it will be.
Depending. Yeah, right. As Sandra said, we'll true up the budget next year. But
right. Karen. Just say yes.
Just say
yes. Yes, we'll remember to do that.
Yeah.
The budget for next year.
So this is a little bit maybe speculative, I don't know, but so I don't want to get into a lot of hypotheticals, but we're putting a walking path of some sort along Bussey now from...
It'll be on our side of the fence, but yes.
It'll be, okay, it's going to be on our side of the fence, so
Correct.
There's still no sidewalk there. But that still leaves it open that if the city of Park Ridge ever figures out how to do the road diet on Bussey Highway and to allow bike path, that we could maybe enter into an agreement to try to take some of that.
Yes, we
land
could.
and use it for
Yes, we absolutely could, and we've still had open dialogue with the city on that. But again, at this point, every conversation I've had with them to date has indicated that for them, what makes the most sense is for that path to be on the other side of the street from the park. So it becomes complicated up by Hinckley Pool, where Morris comes in, because just you have to have a certain distance where you have to make the lane disappear before you get to the intersection, and it becomes sooner because of that secondary road that cuts in. And so there's just like a number of different complications that they laid out for me at one point. We still have had a few conversations like, okay, that's fine, but still, we'd like to revisit that when the time is right. So
And I'm happy to put this on record. I'm not sure that the people at the city have really thought of this hard enough. Because yes, there are problems, but there are also ways to overcome those problems. And I go down there enough to be able to see that they can figure that out if they wanted to. Um, so that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we're not
yeah,
cutting off our nose for the future there, and it's not, because that space isn't being
We're
used
not.
anyway. Okay, thank you.
Right, and the path, there's other pathways that we were adding in the plan that you've already seen previous. We just added a few areas to make some connections over behind the field. And like Terry said, it's a 6-foot path, correct?
Mhm.
And then we added also a short path, the one that's darker over by as he mentioned, by the bathrooms, by the batting cages, and then to connect to the other path that we've got going around the park now. Is that correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There'll be a lot of other loop. There's a whole loop path. around
Yeah, there's the loop path already. I mean, that we're adding.
There's a loop path all the way around the edge, or because
No.
I thought there was one all the way along Bussy, but I could have been dreaming.
No, it's not. It's not all the way.
I mean, there actually there is, but it's not like a traditional. like,
Yes.
here's a loop,
right.
right? There's already some existing pathways. We're putting in some new ones,
Connecting with.
it. So there's actually it's realistically there's kind of a figure 8 within the park now, because there's a path that goes around by the tennis courts around Hinckley 3, the water reservoir, and connects where the playground's at, and then there's another path that gets you alongside Hinckley Field 2, which is where near the skate park and the restrooms. And then there's a new path that goes along the skate park. You can utilize existing sidewalks and get yourself over to the sidewalks on Northwest Highway or through by the parking area there, and then connect with the pathway that comes from the other direction towards the playground again.
But it's not existing. We're adding
Right,
to make
yeah,
this figure 8.
Some of them are there, and we're adding in others to make it so that there's a couple of different routes there.
But there's no path like between the skate park and Bussy. Like that's just like
There is.
there is.
Maybe you should pull that.
I have to go and look back.
Can we pull that plan up and show them, or not? Or not? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I wasn't ready, but
Yeah,
So if
I
it's
know.
not
That's hard
gray,
to
it's
see
'cause
on
it's
this plan.
existing.
Okay. But there's nothing like it's over by the pool, like between the pool and Bussy. There's nothing. I see people walking over there on the dirt and parents pushing kids in strollers on the dirt and
Yes, that's what we're
You
trying
mean
to.
right along next side to the pool?
yeah, next to the pool house
Yeah, so
basically.
that area over there is part of like the IDOT right of way, so I wouldn't
Okay.
be able to touch that
Yeah.
without a major
Oh,
permitting. Yeah,
okay.
and there's really not a lot of space in some.
There
of the
isn't a lot of space, but and now there's parking spots over there too. So anyway, it's not all our problem. It's my
We're trying to connect as
not
much as we
ours.
can is the bottom line, and we can bring that.
Yeah.
If you want us to bring back and show you next time, or we can pull up the plan to show you what we're
I can
adding and
go-
what's
I can
there.
Yeah, or Terry can just email it to me or something like that. That's fine. You don't have to pull it up right now. It's okay, Terry.
Whatever the board prefers, if you want to see.
It's okay. I think it's a Melissa interest. You can just email it to me and I'll look at it.
I would like to see it too.
I got it ready to go.
It won't take long.
Okay, that's fine. I
The
didn't
rest
want to.
of what we're doing is lighting and paths, right?
We're doing a shelter. We're doing the playground, the new playground. We're doing lighting. We're doing some
We're lighting. I don't think we're doing lighting.
basketball court. No, we already did that.
We're
Yeah,
doing.
we're doing the
We've got the pathways, the basketball court, the playground, the batting tunnels, and the shelter are our 5 main amenities here.
Right.
Yeah,
For some reason, I always forgot what we're doing here.
yeah.
I know. It's hard. Can you see?
Oh, and I am glad though to hear about larger, like bigger netting, because having observed many games at Hinckley with my son playing baseball, I've definitely seen more than one car get get dinged
Yeah,
on.
we thought that was important to address now because we've heard a lot about that.
So this is the plan. It does cut off down here by the pool a little bit. Sorry.
Maybe like when you're pointing, show existing and
Yeah.
then what we're adding. I think that would be helpful. If you can, Terry.
Yeah, sorry. No, see? Can't get rid of that bar now. I can't. I'm gonna move it. Sorry. There we go. All right. So here, if it's dark gray, then that's a new path that we're putting into the park. This is the skate park area right here. Yeah, here's the skate park. This is the restroom building. This is a Hinkley 2. This area here that's lighter in color is an existing pathway, and here's the asphalt pad for the bleachers and everything that goes around field 2. And then you see over here there's kind of this weird shaped darker gray. The reason it's weird shaped over here is because it's connecting to the existing asphalt paths that are there, and then creating a pathway through the park over here to the playground, the additional parking back here behind the church, which we have agreements with them to utilize on the weekends, as well as a pathway over here to the parking lot. You could then, at this point, utilize the sidewalk here along Northwest Highway and connect back with these sidewalks over here that are existing. And you could take them, right along here in the parking lot and then back over to this path again. Then additionally here at Field 3, there's this new pathway that leads you over here to the work that we just described in the existing pads. It'll hook up with this existing sidewalk that goes to the tennis courts, and then you can grab this new pathway that comes behind Hinkley 3 in between the tennis courts. So those are the path areas.
And in terms of lighting, we're lighting the fields because people are playing at night, but we don't generally light our parks at night. So
No.
like a playground wouldn't normally be lit.
No, we specifically are lighting for the fields, correct? That's
Yep.
what we've done.
Could you give me the backstory on how Senator Markwick gave us this? And is Hinckley in his district, I hope? Or
Hinkley was in his district, but it's not. And so it was given when he was in the district, and they just had not notified us of it yet. These DECIO grants, I don't know if you were here when we've been awarded for open space, the historic gate, and a backstop, and then this just came to us. So these are ones that they just get the money. They're not like the OSLID grants that we're used to, that big. There is an application process after we get the money, but it is not as structured of a program, I would say. So it's not set in stone when the funds are coming, but once they tell you they're awarded, we are assured we'll get them. It's just a matter of when they're, when they issue them.
That was nice of him, yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Terry, what's going in place of the bleachers to be removed? Is there a replacement, or is that more going to be a grassy area?
That'll be a grassy area. So that's just an existing spot there. And just because we're doing this concrete work around there, it made sense to just kind of put it there where it kind of sits by and more cohesive. So we'll just fill it with grass. Yep.
Any trees for the parents sitting out in the sun watching their children's very long baseball games?
Yeah, I would say that we would. I mean, we do that. We're not at that level detail on this plan here, but yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for ways to do that. So.
That would be great.
And the other thing, just to mention quickly, is that we've had some conversations with a gentleman, I think it's football, and that wanted to do some kind of a memorial for a coach. And so we got into some conversations with the affiliates, like how could we do something, because instead of just doing a plaque somewhere. And so we talked about that and we found that some other districts do, and we've done the brick programs before there in the Hodges, but we're also looking at incorporating a brick program, a section for the affiliates, for their opportunity for them to honor, people that have volunteered a lot in their programs. And that would be in the area by the shelter is where we're focusing that on, so.
So, absent any other discussion or questions about the plan, we are looking for a consensus to go ahead with the DECIO so that I can instruct my staff to begin working diligently on that application so we can get the funds in as soon as possible.
Yeah. Does anyone?
I
Yeah, I'm good.
think we're all,
I think we're all in agreement.
looks like we're all good.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else, Tony? Tony. Terry?
Terry.
Jesus.
No, that's
Thank you very much. Superintendent, Commissioner Tony.
All right.
All right, I will turn it back over to Commissioner Leduc, President Leduc.
Thank you. Does anyone have any new business?
I'm not sure if it's new. I mean, there's so many great projects going on here that it's amazing to see. And you guys are probably swamped with work. But in regards to Oakton, not that we need to add anything more to our agenda, but I'm just wondering if we should be including that also very large project in case there's any updates or changes that take place between meetings.
Your great segue, because we will be starting to discuss some of those details coming up. We've had 2 big meetings with, really one, right? One, and a lot of communication with the architects. So they're doing kind of their back end work right now on some of these things. And then we're going to be meeting and we'll be communicating very soon about we're trying to get some dates settled for a meeting on the indoor turf and the material we're going to use. And then, excuse me, we're also going to be bringing back revised plans to the board. Sorry, I got something in my throat. So you'll see it soon on the agenda.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks.
It's not really new business, but I'd just like to congratulate Brian for getting elected, even though it was uncontested, but he's here. And you guys, but you're already here. Like, he's new. He's special. Your old hat, Cindy.
I was going to congratulate our 2 incumbent. And
You're bringing 4 more years of experience to the board.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, does anybody have any other new business?
I do want to make a comment that my son had a job at the Park District about 4 years ago. And his job was to empty the garbage cans every day in the summer. And they do stink a lot like poop, but I will say they do get emptied every day. So I just want you to know that. It's a very, very bad job. And I wish people would bring their poop home, but they don't. So.
All right. So unless there's anything else, I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?